Hi, welcome to another episode of the Leaving California podcast. Here we explore the stories of individuals and families who are trying to make the decision of whether or not to leave California for greener pastures. I'm your host, Cherie Harrington, and I'm a real estate agent here in San Diego. Today we have a special guest with us, Kristin Egli, who's a real estate agent from the Fort Worth area in Texas, around Dallas. Kristin's here to share insights about the Fort Worth area and tell us the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to moving to Texas. I'm excited to have you here. Welcome, Kristin.
Thank you, Cherie. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you.
You got it. I'm excited to hear about Fort Worth. Actually, I have a friend that moved close to that area, so I'm interested to hear what you have to say because I've heard what she has to say. So let's dive right in.
Okay,
Kristin, can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and how you ended up becoming a real estate agent in Fort Worth?
Yes. So I grew up here. I spent pretty much my entire life in DFW as a whole, but more on the Fort Worth side of things. And I found myself I was managing a medical clinic, and I kind of had gotten to where I was at the point in my career where I couldn't really go anywhere. I was just stuck. And I had the opportunity to join a real estate team. And so that's where it all began. And I haven't looked back. It's been awesome. I've been in real estate since September of 2014. And so it's just been a fun and exciting adventure. I love working with buyers and sellers, but mainly buyers moving to our area, and also just repeat referrals. That's a lot of our business is just referral based. So
awesome. That makes it more fun that way, I think. At least when there's some kind of a warm connection, it makes it easier for sure. Explain to me the difference between, because I always put them together, Dallas and Fort Worth, and I guess maybe because of the airport, right? DFW. So is each place located? Do they butt up against each other?
So they do. So DFW Airport is actually located pretty much halfway between Dallas and Fort Worth. So Fort Worth is to the west and Dallas is to the east. And so we get lumped into big, pot together a lot. And what people often don't realize about DFW is that it's ginormous. So to cover the entire Metroplex is virtually impossible. It's just, it's just really expansive. So we do end up kind of specializing in certain areas. So I work mainly the west part of the Metroplex.
Okay, gotcha. And I know from my ex-corporate world, I used to fly into DFW a lot. And you're right, it's huge. And there's a lot of traffic. It's confusing. That'll be probably one of the negatives. We'll see. But let's talk about the positives first. So tell us some things that you love about that area.
So one of the things I love about Fort Worth is that really everybody here is so super friendly. It's a very warm and family-oriented community, Fort Worth as a whole. But there's also a lot of rich history here. In Fort Worth, actually downtown, they have the only live cattle drive in the world, twice a day, every day. So it's really cool to kind of be around sort of some of the historic things that are here, but also it's really affordable to live here. You can have a really great quality of life and access to wonderful educational opportunities for children here. And so it ends up being a really, really wonderful place to grow up and live.
So tell us about the housing market there. So I'm in Carlsbad, that's North San Diego County, and actually for San Diego County now, the average home price is $1 million. It's gotten completely out of control since COVID. So what is it like where you are?
So the average sales price, now I just focused on the Fort Worth side of things because Fort Worth and Dallas are very different. Fort Worth is definitely the more affordable side. So Fort Worth, our average home sales price right now is about $415,000. So that's up about 3% from last year. So we are seeing that steady kind of reasonable, real estate, and it's kind of going up just reasonably instead of the crazy market that we've had. But we do have a housing shortage here in North Texas as a whole. We have a lot of businesses that come to Texas because of all the tax incentives and stuff like that. So we don't have enough houses here. So we are still in multiple offer situations here, very frequently going above list price, that kind of stuff.
Okay. So before COVID, so did you guys see that spike during COVID also, where the prices just went out of control?
Yeah, we often talk to a lot of like past clients that are getting ready to sell, and we tell them if they purchased in the last, 3 years or longer, their house is likely doubled in value. So we definitely have seen that here.
Okay. It's the same here. I mean, we bought our house in September, I think, or October of 2019. So just a few months before COVID, and ours is more than doubled. It's insane. So I think people feel like, the cost of living here is crazy and the housing prices are crazy, but it's all relative to where you live, right? Because you guys are experiencing the same thing. So you have no state income tax, correct?
We do not have state income tax here. What's interesting conversation, and not to dissuade anybody from moving to North Texas, of course, because it is a great place to live. But one of the things about North Texas that a lot of people don't realize is that our taxes here, property taxes here, are really, really high. So percentage wise, they're actually higher than California. So people are often very shocked when they go, "Oh, I'm moving to Texas because it's so affordable." And I always, try to also educate them that, okay, well, it is affordable. The housing market is affordable, but, just make sure you pay attention to all the other things. Cause, I try to prepare them planning wise. These are the things that you can expect. And in our taxes here, while we don't have income tax, we do have fairly high property taxes.
So how does it work there? So first, our income tax is as high as 12.3%. So it just depends on your income, but it's ridiculous. And property taxes here are 1% of your purchase price, and they can go up like 2% a year. Ours has only done that a couple of times, which is nice. So how does it work there? Is it different per city or county, or how does that work?
Yeah, so it is different per city, county, school district. It's all just different, but it ranges anywhere here from about 1.8% to it can get really close to 3%. And it's based on your value, but that does go up nearly every year.
So is it reassessed every year?
It is.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. So I know my mom was a real estate broker in New York State for years and years and years. And I know the same thing there. And she would always tell me, like, older people, their homes paid off, and then their property taxes just kept increasing, and it would force them out of their homes. So that is definitely something to consider for sure.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. It just one of those things to prepare for. It is less expensive, in a lot of ways. But one of the things that's unexpected when people move here is that the property taxes are so silly high. Yeah. But they have passed some legislation here recently that will hopefully make a big dent in that for people. And so, we are hoping for some relief, but currently right now we do have fairly high taxes.
Is there anything in place for seniors where their taxes are capped, or is it just the same for everyone?
Yeah, it freezes at 65. So it doesn't go up after that, but pretty much every year people's taxes go up, and they will allow you to protest your taxes. So I don't want to get too deep into that, but there are ways that you can do that, but they can raise your taxes pretty much every year here. And they do. Historically, everybody's taxes went up crazy in the last 12 to 24 months. Everybody's taxes went just absolutely nutso because of all this stuff from, the pandemic and real estate, what it did during that time. So.
Okay. Gotcha. And then, so talk to us about utility costs. How is solar a thing there? Does that help? What is a normal electric bill?
Yeah. So solar is a thing here. People, it's still only about 20% though, probably, of people have it. I think that there's just been a lot of misinformation out in the market, whether people do it or not. And so, there's that. But we have very large temperature swings here. Even in, February, we had days where it was 80 degrees and the next day it was 20. So
Wow.
even year round, your electricity bills can be fairly high.
Okay.
So I would say average utility bill around here, pretty much around the year round, really is probably between $300 and $400. That would be just your electric. So obviously higher in the summer because we have crazy hot summers, and so, but even in the winter we can have pretty warm days where you have to turn on your air conditioner in the day and your heating at night.
Okay.
Weird.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Trying to think what else. Okay, tell me about the school systems. How are the school systems there?
Yeah, so the schools in Texas are pretty good, historically speaking. There's a lot of movement right now from the legislature to go to a voucher system which would allow you to basically put your kid in a private school or a public school if you wanted to. So there's a lot of division within, the whole community in and of itself as to whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. There's a lot of charter schools around. But I would say as a whole, the schools in Texas are pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. I know there's issues here with a lot of things, and that's one of them. Lots of division, as you say. What about gas? What is the gas cost there per gallon right now?
So it recently has gone way up. So I just filled my car up yesterday, so I know firsthand what it is. It was $3.92 yesterday a gallon. And so, of course, that's for premium. Regular unleaded was, I think it was $3.24 a gallon. So we did get down to right at $2 a gallon not too long ago, but now we're up over $3 again. So it's it swings quite a bit here.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, it's still probably $2 to $2.50 a gallon cheaper than it is here. It's like $5 is normal to us, and anything under $6 looks good. It's kind of scary. We were down by the airport, I don't know, maybe a month ago, and it was just over $7 right by the airport. I'm like, what is happening? It's crazy. Absolutely.
I know. It was hard just yesterday, even we're at almost $4 a gallon again. I'm like, how did we get here? What's happening?
It's kind of interesting how things move around like that. Yeah. So I mentioned the traffic earlier. And so my memory of the area is always getting to the airport around 11 p.m. I'm tired. I got my rental car, and and not that it was gridlock traffic. It was just like the freeway or highway, whatever you guys call it, system was just like, I could not figure out where I was getting off. I would drive by the same exit over and over again. Maybe there was construction during those years. I don't know. Or is that kind of how the system is set up?
Yeah. So the roads in Texas are funny. We always have construction because it seems like, and I'm sure this is a common thread other places as well, but it seems like they wait until we're way past needing some kind of, widening or improvement to do it. And then it causes a whole, 2 or 3 years of,
pain,
gnashing of teeth and really pulling your hair out and sitting in traffic. But traffic here is not great. And one of the reasons why is, we don't really have public transportation here that people use. We have some. They have started in the past, say decade, to really kind of implement some mass transit accessibility. But for the most part, when you see these trains go by, they're completely empty. People don't use them. So just, everybody is just driving their car every day. And so that, along with just the urban sprawl, has just it's very dense within the city. And then, it starts to spread out a little bit as you move out from that, but it still creates quite a bit of traffic. So,
Okay.
coming from California, LA area, I would say our traffic is nothing. People would go, oh yeah, that's nothing. But we do have quite a bit of traffic congestion, and it can happen pretty much all day long, every day. There's not really a break from it. So,
Okay. Okay. I guess that was normal what I was experiencing then.
yeah. Just kind of get used to it, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Back to the housing costs. So are you guys having any issues with homeowners insurance right now? Like we are here, we're having companies that pulled out of California completely. They're dropping people. They're quadrupling their rates. Some people they've come to and they said, if you don't put a new roof on, we're going to drop you. If you don't do this, we're going to drop you. What's going on there?
A lot of the same, honestly. And we have, so back in 2021, we had a very bad ice storm here that knocked out
I
electricity
remember that.
for 3 or 4 days for people.
Yeah.
There was, people died. It was just unruly and crazy. And there was so many claims from that on top of our, annual hailstorms that we have, that now they're like, okay, we're going to raise rates. And so everybody's rates have pretty much doubled or tripled, depending. But I had a really strange situation where I had a buyer that bought a house, and because the seller that previously owned the home had made a claim on the house, my buyer's insurance was going to drop them because there was too many claims made by the previous seller. So they're really looking for any and every reason to not insure people.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
it's very interesting. It's a mess right now. Okay, it sounds like it's everywhere. How about well, do you know, like for an average home, like what the insurance rate would be? I know it's different all over.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, oh gosh, that's such a tricky one because
I know it's
there's
all
such
kind of
a vast array of coverage and all kinds of stuff. But I would say $4,500 a year probably is about,
okay.
yeah,
So
about
it's pretty
average.
high then.
Yeah, it
Interesting.
is high here. It's high.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it is really interesting talking to all of you guys in different cities, because I feel like people that live here, they think, oh my God, Texas is so cheap, I'm going to move to Texas. And you really have to like almost put a spreadsheet together side by side, like what your cost is here and what your cost is there, and just figure out, is it really that much cheaper? Am I going to be able to tolerate the weather? We like to complain about the weather here. It's been rainy the last couple weeks and we're all losing it, and it's like, come on, our weather is so mild compared to everywhere else.
Yeah.
What would you say, like, how is the crime rate and homelessness there? Does it seem to be getting better? Does it seem to be getting worse? What does it look like in your downtown areas?
Yeah. So, it's kind of been an interesting evolution. So as you know, I lived in Pasadena, California for just a very short period of time, actually during COVID. But when I left, it was kind of a joke that like I grew up in this bubble because like there was very little homelessness here. We just didn't have that. When I came back I literally moved into the same neighborhood I lived in before I moved. But when I came back, I was shocked at how the homelessness factor had really kind of taken over in areas that had never, ever experienced that before. And so it was shocking in that regard because really that's just not very well tolerated here in Texas, I'll say. Like there's not a lot of support for people that are experiencing a hard time. And so it was really weird and interesting. I remember many times going to the grocery store when I was in California and kind of being solicited constantly for, donations or money or food or whatever.
Right.
And I was like, gosh, I don't know how people live like this every day. Just for me, it was difficult. It was sad. It's just really sad. And I was like, okay. Well, then I moved back to Texas and I began seeing the same thing. And it was just shocking a little bit. Now it's not on the scale that California is. I can truly say, side by side. It's not the same, but you do still see tent cities. You do still see that kind of stuff around here. And even in the smaller suburbs that are more affluent, you still see that. So.
Okay. So I think it's a nationwide issue, but it does seem more prevalent here, I think, for whatever reason.
Well, I mean, I think just on that topic really quick, I think part of it is the weather, honestly, because here our weather is so extreme. It's either like really, really cold and wet and gross, or it's really, really hot. And you know, there's not a lot of in between. There is, but there's not significant. So, you know, I think in some regards, yeah, it's the weather, but then in other regards, it's just circumstances. People get stuck where they are. So
yeah, I would agree with that, because I think Los Angeles is a little bit warmer than it is here year round, and there's a lot more issue up there than there is down here, although it's changed a lot down here since COVID also. Okay, let's talk about some of the challenges that people might face when they're moving from California to Texas. Like, what are some things that you can think of that we might not even think about?
So I would say, you know, one of the biggest challenges moving to Texas is, you know, and I don't even know if it's a challenge. It could be a good thing, really. It's that, you know, there's a lot of self-regulation here. So, you know, kind of each to their own sort of situation. So it can kind of be, you know, there's good and bad of that, of course. But, you know, I would say that's a challenge that's just different. And then, you know, people are really friendly here. So, you know, I used to joke when I was in California for just a little bit of time that, you know, I would say hi or good morning or open a door for people, and they would just look at me like I was the weirdest person on the planet. And so when people move here, they're like, oh my gosh. Yeah, Texans are so nice. Like, they're so friendly. And so that's been a big kind of thing for a lot of people that have moved here. Just, they can't get over it. They're like, wow, that's so weird. Like, my neighbors came over and brought a cobbler, or they brought over dinner, or what. It's just a very friendly place. And so that's a lot of, you know, in that regard, it's a transition. But I think really the other part of it is, you know, you'll see the political difference. And I don't want to talk politics necessarily, but there is a big difference in politics in Texas and California. So, you know, that's really, a lot of people come here for that. They want to have more of that freedom and more of the, you know, they want to get away from more, say, economic policies that don't necessarily benefit them, and they'll come here. And so that's usually the adjustment, honestly. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. They just come here and they're like, wow, okay, this is just it's just different. It's just a different place. So.
Okay. How do you feel like Californians are perceived when they move there?
Oh boy. Now, to be fair, I have helped quite a few people move here from California in the last 3 years alone. And so that's the first question when people are relocating here and I talk to them, they're like, okay, give me the deets. Like, what's going on? Are we going to be, you know, is people going to burn our house down? Or what's going to happen? And the thing is that a lot of people here don't like necessarily the policies that are in California. And so they are immediately on guard. They feel protective. Like, they're like, this is our place. We like it like this. Don't mess it up. And so, you know, I always tell people, like, just try to get to know people before you necessarily tell them that you're from California, because they may not even give you a chance, to be honest. But if they get to know you, like, I haven't met one person from California that wasn't an amazing individual. So it's like, you know, I always say, you're welcome here. Come here. Yes. You know, but just know some people are very outspoken about their beliefs on, you know, keeping California in California and not bringing it to Texas, which is not fair.
Yeah. That is exactly what people say on the Leaving California Facebook page. They're like, don't California my Texas or whatever. And they're very, and I get it. like, you like things a certain way, and that's why we live in certain places or choose to leave sometimes. So I can definitely understand that. Do you have any like final tips or words of wisdom for our listeners who are thinking about making a move to your area?
What I usually tell people that are considering moving here is spend some time here, like explore, like see what we have to offer here. There's a lot of really amazing parts of Dallas Fort Worth that are unique to our area. And so if you're thinking about moving here, come and stay. Spend 2 weeks here in the hottest part of the summer or the coldest part of the winter, whatever, and see what it's really like to live here and maneuver around and, see how the people are, see what the food's like. Many people that come here are blown away by how amazing our food is here. So people are like, oh, the food in Texas is incredible. We do have great food here. But I would say if you're going to move here, spend some time here first. Like, don't give up your primary home, wherever it is that you live, and move to Texas with blinders on. Just, go into it wide open and just be receptive to what's here and see if it really matches what you want out of your new home.
That is 100% dead on. What I always say is like, you have to spend time there. You have to spend time there, a lot of time in what people would consider the worst season of the year, right? So if it's 100 degrees out and 100% humidity and you don't think you can handle humidity, go there for 2 weeks, spend 2 weeks there at a minimum, I feel like. And just like you said, I would not give up your home in another state, wherever it is, and move somewhere without doing that, because we've, hear of people time and time again that sell their home in California or wherever, they sold what they thought was the height of the market. They moved to wherever, bought a house, then they realize they don't like it there and they want to come back. And then that same house that they paid $1 million for is now $2 million, and now they can't afford it. So it's, as much as some people don't want to rent their homes out because of the tenant landlord laws here. If it were me, if I were ever going to move, which who knows, I would rent my house out first. I would not want to give up my primary residence and then try to come back, because you usually can't do it. It's too expensive.
Yeah. And even here, honestly, I mean, I've had people move away that are like, oh, we're going to go live in Kansas or wherever. And I'm like, because it's cheaper there. And I'm like, okay. But then they're like, oh, this isn't for me. I'm moving back. And then they're like, oh, wow, the real estate prices went way up while I was away. And so, again, I work with a lot of relocations. And honestly, even though it's not, probably the best financial decision for them up front, I always tell them, if you have an opportunity to spend an extended period of time or even rent when you first move to an area, it'll really give you a very good idea of if that's going to fit your lifestyle and kind of what you want for your life and your family. So.
And I think really understanding what your why is, like, why are you moving? Are you moving because you're mad because Gavin Newsom did something that you don't like? Or a lot of people don't just necessarily move for political reasons either. Some people move to be closer to family or for a job relocation. But if you're leaving because you're angry about things that are happening here, you could get somewhere else and be angry about things that are happening there. So it's all like controlling what you can control and really making a smart decision before you pick up and move anywhere.
Yep, absolutely. Because, there's no where you can live that you're going to love 100% of everything about it, whatever it is.
Right.
There's going to be things that you don't like or disagree with or whatever. And, I think we just, again, control what you can control and just, make the best decision for you based on what your why is.
Yep, exactly.
Definitely.
So what's the best way for our audience to reach you if they're interested in the Fort Worth area?
Yeah, they can reach me. I'm obviously on social media, but they can reach me directly on my cell phone, 817-602-5315. And our team website is realtorroads.com. So it's REALTORRHODES.com. That's our team website. So you can reach us either of those, or my email is my first and last name @kw.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time and being such an incredible referral partner for me and treating my clients so well. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure everybody appreciates all the tips that you gave today.
Well, I appreciate your time as well. And it's been awesome getting to know you. And I appreciate your input as well. And it's always great to learn from such a pro like yourself. So
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good one.
Hey, you too.